Imagine you're driving alone at night. Your phone pings with a ride request. It's 2 a.m. The pickup location is near a bridge where over 100 people have jumped to their deaths. But you need the money, so you accept the ride. When you arrive, a woman gets into your back seat. She's soaking wet. Her clothes are dripping water onto your seats. It's a clear night. It hasn't rained in days. But you don't ask questions. Maybe she fell into the sea. Maybe she had an accident. You just start driving. She gives you an address on the mainland, across the bridge. The drive will take 25 minutes. She doesn't say another word. You glance at her in the rearview mirror. She's staring straight ahead, shivering. The car feels cold, much colder than the air conditioning should make it. You drive across the bridge, the dark water stretching endlessly on both sides. When you finally reach the address and turn around to tell her you've arrived, the back seat is empty. She's gone, but you never stopped the car. You never heard the door open. She just vanished. This is what happened to Ahmad, a Grab driver in Penang, Malaysia, in October 2023. And he's not the only driver who's picked up passengers near Penang Bridge who weren't really there. Because according to Malaysian taxi drivers, some spirits need one last ride home before they can rest. This is his story. Ahmad had been driving for Grab for 3 years. He worked the night shift, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., because the rates were higher and there was less traffic. He'd driven hundreds of passengers across Penang Bridge. He knew the route perfectly. Penang Island to Butterworth, Butterworth to Penang Island. Back and forth, night after night. He'd heard the stories, of course. Other drivers talked about strange passengers near the bridge. People who disappeared. People who left wet seats, but no payment. But Ahmad didn't believe in ghosts. He believed in logic, in what he could see and touch. The stories were just drivers trying to scare each other, or making excuses for passengers who ran without paying. It was October 15th, 2023, just past 2 a.m. Ahmad was parked near Queens Bay Mall, waiting for his next ride request. His phone pinged. Pickup location, near the Penang Bridge toll plaza. Drop off, an address in Butterworth, on the mainland. The fare was decent, RM 35, about $7.50 USD. Ahmad accepted and drove to the pickup point. When he arrived, he saw a woman standing under a streetlight. She was wearing a light blue dress. Her hair was wet, hanging down past her shoulders. Her clothes were soaking, water dripping onto the pavement. Ahmad's first thought was that she'd been in an accident, maybe fallen off a boat or into the sea somehow. He rolled down his window. "Miss, you called for Grab?" She nodded and got into the back seat without saying anything. The moment she sat down, the temperature in the car dropped. Ahmad felt it immediately, a deep, unnatural cold that made him shiver despite the humid Malaysian night. "Are you okay?" Ahmad asked, looking at her in the rearview mirror. "Do you need to go to a hospital?" "No," she said quietly. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "Just take me home, please." She gave him the address. Ahmad entered it into his GPS and started driving. The route would take them across Penang Bridge to Butterworth, 25 minutes if traffic was clear, which it would be at this hour. As Ahmad drove, he kept glancing at the woman in his rearview mirror. She was sitting perfectly still, staring straight ahead. Water was dripping from her hair and clothes onto his back seat. He could see small puddles forming on the floor. The cold in the car was getting worse. Ahmad turned off the air conditioning, but it didn't help. If anything, it got colder. He tried to make conversation. Long night? No response. You live in Butterworth? Still nothing. She just stared ahead, her expression blank. Ahmad felt uneasy now. Something was wrong. The cold, the wet clothes on a dry night, the complete silence. But what could he do? He was already halfway across the bridge. He'd just drop her off and end the trip. The bridge stretched out ahead of them, dark water on both sides. There were no other cars, just Ahmad's Proton Saga, driving alone across 13 kilometers of bridge. The streetlights created pools of yellow light every few hundred meters, but between them was darkness. Ahmad glanced in the rearview mirror again. The woman was still there, still staring ahead, but now he noticed something else. She wasn't blinking. She hadn't blinked once since getting into the car, and her skin, it looked wrong, too pale, almost gray. Miss, are you sure you don't need a hospital? Ahmad asked, his voice shaking slightly. She didn't respond, didn't even move. Ahmad drove faster. He wanted this ride to be over. The cold was unbearable now. He could see his breath in the air. His hands were shaking on the steering wheel. Finally, after what felt like hours, but was only 20 minutes, Ahmad reached Butterworth. He followed the GPS to the address the woman had given him, a small terrace house in a residential area. The lights were off. It was nearly 2:30 a.m. Ahmad pulled up in front of the house and put the car in park. Miss, we're here. This is the address He turned around to look at the back seat. It was empty. The woman was gone. The back seat was dry. No water. No puddles. No sign that anyone had been sitting there at all. Ahmad's heart was pounding. He got out of the car and checked. The doors were still locked from the inside. He'd locked them when she got in, as he always did for safety. There was no way she could have gotten out without him hearing it. But she was gone. He stood there in the dark street, confused and frightened. Had he imagined her? No. He remembered her clearly. The wet clothes, the cold, the way she'd stared ahead without blinking. Ahmad looked at the house. He didn't know what else to do. He walked up to the door and knocked. After a few minutes, a light came on inside. An elderly Chinese man opened the door, looking annoyed and confused. Yes? Do you know what time it is? I'm sorry, Uncle, Ahmad said, but I just dropped off a young woman here. She was in my car. She gave me this address. Is she your daughter? The man's expression changed. His face went pale. What did she look like? Ahmad described her. The light blue dress, the wet hair, the pale skin. The old man's eyes filled with tears. That's my daughter, but she's dead. She jumped from Penang Bridge 3 days ago. We just had her funeral yesterday. Ahmad felt like the ground was disappearing beneath him. That's impossible. She was in my car. She was right there. The man shook his head sadly. You're not the first driver to come here. 3 other drivers came this week. All of them said the same thing. They picked up a wet woman near the bridge, drove her here, and she disappeared from their car. My daughter. She's trying to come home. Ahmad drove back to Penang in a daze. When he got home, he immediately checked his dashcam footage. He always kept it running for insurance purposes. He found a timestamp, 2:07 a.m., when he'd picked up the woman. The footage showed him pulling up to the pickup location. It showed him rolling down his window and talking to someone. Miss, you called for grab, he said on the video. Then the back door opened and closed, but there was no one there. The back seat was empty. The video showed him driving across the bridge, glancing in the rearview mirror, talking to empty air. "Are you okay? Do you need to go to a hospital?" he asked the empty back seat. 25 minutes of him driving alone, talking to no one. But Ahmad remembered her. He remembered the cold, the wet clothes, the way she'd looked at him in the mirror. She'd been real. He knew she'd been real. The next night, Ahmad couldn't bring himself to work, but he couldn't stop thinking about the woman, about the daughter who was trying so desperately to get home one last time. On the third night, he drove back to Penang Bridge. He parked near the spot where he'd picked her up. It was 2 a.m. again. Ahmad got out of his car and walked to the railing. He looked down at the dark water below. "I got you home," he said quietly to the night. "I hope you can rest now." For a moment, nothing happened. Then Ahmad felt it, a warmth cutting through the cold night air, a sense of gratitude, of peace. When he turned around, he saw her for just a second, standing near his car. She wasn't wet anymore. She was dry, and she was smiling. She nodded at him once, and then she was gone. Ahmad never saw her again. But other drivers still report picking up wet passengers near Penang Bridge, passengers who give addresses in Butterworth or Penang Island, passengers who vanish before the ride is over. Some spirits, it seems, need help getting home one last time. And some taxi drivers, whether they believe in ghosts or not, end up being the ones to help them. Ahmad's story is one of many from taxi and grab drivers who work near Penang Bridge. In Malaysian and Chinese beliefs, people who die by drowning or suicide often become restless spirits, unable to move on from the place where they died. Some believe these spirits seek help from the living to complete unfinished business, like going home one last time. What do you think happened to Ahmad? Was it really the daughter spirit trying to reach her family? Or was it something else? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more true ghost stories from across Asia. Until next time, stay safe and stay aware.